Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
Our largest single-theme land expansion ever.
Now we want you to share with us our latest and greatest dream.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 112 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
And I'm your co-host, Alex the Historian, and welcome to episode 113.
What did I say? Did I say 112? Oh
Yes.
My gosh, that's so awkward. I have it written 112 on the script, and I should have changed it, but I did not change it. I apologize for misleading you, everybody. Anyways, welcome to the show. It's going to be a great show we got planned for you guys. Today we're joined by special guest. We don't have a special guest this week, you guys. Bob Iger has some shareholder meetings he had to get to. Couldn't make it this week, sadly. It's just the two of us, just like old times. Excited to get into the show. As many of you may or may not know, links to all of our Discords, our Twitters, our YouTube channels, Alex's channel is linked, all of that in the description below. And you can also do, if you're watching live, !Discord, !Patreon, or !Donate if you'd like to donate to the stream. And if you guys would like to tune into the show live, we do these shows, Matterhorn Mondays, live. We used to do, for the past few weeks, we've been doing them on Sundays at 3 p.m. Disneyland time, but normally we live stream the episode Saturday evening at 4 p.m. Disneyland time. So if you guys would like to tune into that, I'd recommend tuning into my Twitter so you guys don't miss out. What are you smiling at, Alex? Looks like you're trying not to laugh.
Just reading the comments. No, not comments, but the chat.
I peed my pants with the auto-tune. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, well, as I was saying, I'd recommend you guys giving my Twitter a follow or even joining my Discord server so you can get caught up on when these shows will be live. Normally, like I said, it's on 4 p.m. Disneyland time on Saturdays. We should be back to that normal schedule hopefully next week. Not sure. We're trying to get Jeremy back on, and he's been booked up the past few weeks, guys. He's been on radio shows. He's been on TV shows. We just haven't had the chance to find a free time to have him join our little old Matterhorn Mondays podcast. But anyways, before we continue on with anything, we should announce, we've announced this last week as well, we are having a meetup in December in Disneyland. Link in the description to Alex's website, www.alexthehistorian.com, for more information. The meetup will be happening Friday, December 6th at 1 p.m., I believe. 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. 1 p.m., yes, it is 1 p.m. And we're going to be hanging out in the lobby of the Grand Californian for, around 30 minutes to an hour, and then, we'll have some nice chit-chat. And once we finish up there, those of us who can will go into the parks, into Disneyland, possibly California Adventure, you guys. You never know. Crazy things might happen. You've been going to California Adventure. We'll get on some rides. You guys can stay as long as you want. I'll probably stay until at least midnight. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out as we go along. But like I said, Friday, December 6th at 1 p.m. in the lobby of the Grand Californian. Follow my Twitter for any updates. We don't anticipate anything changing that day, but maybe if one of us are late, I'll tweet about it, or if we happen to change the location, which is not going to happen, but you never know with Disney these days, we might have to. Follow my Twitter for updates, but again, alexthehistorian.com for more information on the meetup. And last announcement of the show, if you guys would like to leave a voicemail on any of the topics we're talking about today, you can give a ring to 575-386-5814. We'll be listening to the voicemails throughout the show, and you guys don't have to call just during the show. You can call anytime you want throughout the week. If you're listening on a Friday to the recent episode, you can give a call, leave a voicemail about your thoughts on the topics we're talking about. You can also text the number, I guess, but we prefer voicemails. We like to hear your guys' voices. I don't like to necessarily read a lot because I'm not that good at reading. and I have to read the text messages, and it's very embarrassing for me because I mispronounce a lot of things. But anyways,
it's kind of what Matt's known for on this channel, is the mispronouncer of everything.
It really is.
We had a nickname for you, right?
The Butcherer. Yeah, the Butcherer.
Yeah. The Butcherer.
Someone should go through all the past episodes, compile a video of all the words I've mispronounced. It'll take a while. It'll probably be like an hour-long video that you end up producing, whoever decides to do that. But anyways, before we move on, let's go ahead and get into our everybody's favorite segment, you guys. It's time for Matt Snaps, and we do have a new theme song for Matt Snaps, produced by the same man who did the Alex in the Parks theme song. I'm gonna go on his Instagram just because I want to shout him out. His Instagram is at Clinton McCall. So shout out to at Clinton McCall on Instagram for making this lovely Matt Snaps theme. Let's go ahead and give it a listen here.
A whole wide world of knowledge waits underneath the couch. It's once again time this week for Matterhorn Matt Snaps.
It's pretty epic, right? I feel like we should have feels like an anime intro song. Someone should animate myself like an anime intro. Wait, why is it playing again? Why is it playing again? I don't know why it played again. That was so awkward. It played again. Well, anyways, you guys know the drill. It's time for...
Just reminds me of like as if it was like a Michael Bolton song or something.
I don't know who Michael Bolton is, Alex. Bruh.
I don't know who Michael Bolton is, Alex.
Anyways, it's time for Matt Snaps, you guys. Let's go ahead and pop this open. Oh gosh. Yeah, that's a good snap. I moved the webcam, if you guys didn't notice, to up here. Cheers to Matterhorn Matt Snaps. And I will pour this. Oh, it almost just spilled everywhere. I poured it with such ferocity, it almost just spilled everywhere on my pants. But anyways, now that that's out of the way, we can move on to news. We can move on to... Oh my gosh, hold on.
News from the Peak.
We now present to you news from the Peak.
We only have 2 bits of news from the Peak this week, guys. Very sorry to disappoint. Alex sent a third, but I skimmed over it. I missed his message on Discord.
That's right. Alex sent a good one.
It was a good one, actually.
I mean, I might just insert it anyway, you know.
We can, we can if the people want. I mean, I'm sure they do. Anyways, for our first bit of news from the Peak, new trailer for Pixar's new film Soul has been released, and I, for one, have to say that this is indeed a Pixar movie, you guys, with characters, lovely backgrounds, lovely scenery. I'm not quite sure what this movie's about. I glossed the synopsis, but looks like a very interesting movie. It looks kind of like a Inside Out, except without emotions. Alex, what are your thoughts on the brand new Soul trailer published by Pixar the other day?
So it actually looks pretty interesting. I went into watching the trailer wanting to hate it, but no, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I think it'll be really good, and it's intriguing so far. I do have one critique, which is just like, why does it always have to have weird little fuzzy characters in it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. I'm excited to see more of it.
Let's see. I'm trying to find the synopsis here. Okay, Soul imagines that every person on Earth comes pre-installed with a soul formed and perfected in a cosmic realm. Jamie Foxx will play you guys, the Butcherer. He's back. Jamie Foxx will play a middle school music teacher on Earth who dreams of playing at legendary New York jazz club, the Blue Note. After the wrong step into an open sewer gate, Joe slips back into his soul form back in the other realm with some existential... if you guys saw the trailer, he fell down a manhole and pooped himself. He died, you guys. with some existential work to do before he might land his big gig. So again, I'm not really sure what like the plot of this movie is going to be, but it looks interesting nonetheless. Very excited for Pixar's Soul and for our second bit of news from the Peak. This is something I believe Alex predicted, or I'm not sure if he predicted it or if one of his insiders told him about it. Snow White's Scary Adventures to be refurbished in 2020. Yeah, very interesting. Again, even more credible news coming from the Matterhorn Mondays podcast, you guys. Very excited.
We often say it first.
We do. I'd like to point out that we do have a few instances where we have predicted, I guess predicted is the right word, where we have predicted certain bits of things that are happening on around the Disney parks. So Alex is very proud of that. So why don't you go ahead and give a little rundown of what is going to be happening to Snow White's Scary Adventures in 2020.
So it's pretty much going to go like how I had previously said in other episodes, which is basically what they're going to do, what it seems, according to the permit that was filed. They're going to be removing some old sets, props, and scenery and things like that, replacing them with new stuff, including new electrical work, definitely new projector stands or whatever you call them, places to install projectors. So we know that new special effects are coming just based on that itself, as well as the rumor that I had previously announced had talked about changing Snow White's Scary Adventures in order to make it a little bit less scary, because apparently...
You mean the name, Snow White's Scary Adventures?
Both, the experience and the name.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, anyway, to make the ride a little less scary, because kids nowadays, they just get way too scared of the ride, and it's just, it kind of in a way backfired on them. So who knows? They might change it back to what you see in this picture, Snow White and her adventures, so that'd be really interesting. But yeah, it's pretty much just like what I was saying before. They're going to bring it up to par with the work that they did on Peter Pan's Flight and Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, this permit that was filed, $445,000 is going to be put into this refurbishment for this attraction. So you guys know it's going to be a pretty good one, hopefully. I think we've said this before. I am very happy with the way the other refurbishments have gone with Peter Pan, Alice in Wonderland as well. They incorporate the projection mapping very in a good way, I guess is what I should say, especially Alice in Wonderland. I feel like Alice in Wonderland with its recent updates has really pushed it above or past Peter Pan's Flight, in my opinion, for the best dark ride in Fantasyland. I'm not sure if this is gonna... My gosh, my voice cracked. Not sure if this is gonna be happening to Pinocchio's Scary... What is Pinocchio's ride? Just Pinocchio's Journey? Is that just what it's called?
Daring Journey.
Daring Journey. There we go. Yeah, not sure if that's gonna be happening to that. I do remember I think there was a rumor a while back that I think Pinocchio and Snow White was going to get replaced by the Beauty and the Beast dark ride. Do you guys remember that rumor that we talked about? That's, I think we said at the time that was not going to happen, and it doesn't seem like it's going to happen still. So very happy that we're not losing these two precious dark rides. But anyways, that is going to do it. Oh, yes.
I think that that after Snow White, the next one will be to upgrade Pinocchio. So I'm just going to lay that out there in case in next year when people go, oh, they're announcing the redo of Pinocchio, I'm going to be like, I said it.
Alex called it, you guys. You heard it here first. Alex called everything. Anyways, that does it for this week's news from the Peak. And let's see, before we get into our main topics, we do have some special bit of Alex in the Parks today. Oh, excuse me. I had to burp, but it formed into a hiccup instead. Does that happen to you guys? I feel like I'm alone on that.
I think Matt spent too much time with Pinocchio over on Pleasure Island.
Oh, bruh. Oh, wait a minute.
for a moment.
Oh my god. Please stop. That's gonna drive me nuts.
Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this week's Alex in the Parks. Gives me time to take a drink of Snapple. Yeah. Breakdown. All right. Now, let's see. This footage is not from Mr. Alex because I believe he said he went to the park on Wednesday, and these changes happened after Wednesday.
Yeah, I filmed a whole thing for Alex in the Parks on Wednesday, but then a whole bunch of stuff in the park changed it between that time, so I couldn't do a episode of it today.
All right. Well, we do have a video from She's in Los Angeles. So would you like me to play that, and then you can go ahead and speak over it?
Indeedio. And can you make sure I see it on the... Yeah, I can see it. Okay.
Si, senor.
Okay.
Again,
okay, so
She's in Los Angeles, linked in the description.
Yes. So, anyway, I was going to say, but yeah, this is from She's in Los Angeles, a really amazing YouTuber who shows updates of the park and stuff like that. So basically, she's been following this work going on at the entrance of Tomorrowland. And as of Friday, at least I know for sure Friday, the construction walls were pushed back yet again. I'm not going to say 100% they're all down, but for the most part, they've been pushed back significantly. And it has revealed this new lawn right where some of the old French fry rocks used to be. Now in this video, you can see that there are still some French fry rocks left on the north side of the Tomorrowland entrance. I have a feeling those might go away either this winter or just after the Christmas season ends, when we get that usual kind of slower time of the year. But yes, so you can see that the previous week, she had taken video footage up over the wall, and there was still dirt in that planter, but now it is this big lawn. Now, what I find really interesting about this lawn is that I was saying to some people that in the recent, like, last 2 decades or so, Disney has been replacing a lot of their lawns with flower beds, which I thought is... Yeah, which is like really cool because I love Disneyland's flower beds, and especially at the entrance to Tomorrowland, ever since the 1990s, it's had vegetable gardens. So it's just been really cool. But anyway, this is just a lawn, which is, I mean, there's something that I like about it and there's something I don't like about it. So what I like about it is it reminds me so much of like old Disneyland with all its lawns in the hub area. But the other thing I don't like about it is that it reminds me so much of old Disneyland with all the lawns in the hub area. So, I feel like, well, Disney can do better than that. But I will admit, though, I'd rather have a lawn than just concrete. So I will say that. I'd much rather just have a lawn than concrete. But anyway, yes. So some people believe, and I actually kind of think they're right, that the lawn is really only temporary. That maybe when the walls are finally brought down at the entrance of Tomorrowland, maybe they'll remove the little concrete bunker that is currently hidden by a small section of walls. Maybe when they do all that, then they'll replace these lawns with flower beds. We don't know, and we don't really know when that'll happen. But yeah, it seems like they're just getting things ready for Disneyland's 65th anniversary next year. So, yeah. I think that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say it does look weird just having the lawn there when it would look so much better with flowers, but I'm not complaining. I think it looks great. Way better than how it looked before. I didn't pull up any before and after pictures, so apologies for that. I believe actually this is before. This image that we see here is before, and this is a different angle, but this is after, taken just the other day. Looks nice with the grass, The French fry rocks are still as ugly as always. Excited for them to finally be removed, at least for the rest of them to be removed.
So someone was asking, like, why did they install the French fry rocks? It has nothing to do with Tomorrowland, right? And that was actually an interesting question because I knew how to answer it. And the basic answer is, around the late 1990s, Disney was kind of at its peak about their like concerns with sight lines in the parks, and that's when they really cared a lot about where you were looking. And so back then they thought that it wasn't right for people who are way in Tomorrowland to be able to look out and see Main Street, because it just ruins the time difference, you know, because Tomorrowland's supposed to be the future. So when they installed the Astro Orbiter, they installed these French fry rocks so people in Tomorrowland can't look out and see Main Street, and people on Main Street can't easily see too much of Tomorrowland. But in today's day and age, Imagineers are more relaxed about it, and they know which sight lines are more important than others. So yeah, that's kind of an explanation for why those were there and why we're removing them.
Okay, very interesting. I did not know that.
Interesting.
Interesting this is. Wait a minute.
Interesting this is.
Guys, Yoda's narrating the Main Street Electrical Parade, guys. What is happening?
I'm sorry, everyone. Matt may not make it to the next stream or any stream thereafter.
Probably not. You heard it here first, folks. Anyways, thank you to Mr. Alex for this week's Alex in the Parks. Great segment as always. And now we move on to our main topics. First main topic, cast member drama that's been happening the past couple days on Twitter. Second topic, why didn't guests visit Disneyland during the latter half of 2019? I don't think that's. It sounds right, but is it? Oh, okay, it didn't sound. It sounded right, but I'm not sure. Anyways, and for our third and final topic, we're gonna be debunking some more Disneyland myths, you guys. I reached out to you guys on Twitter and on the Discord again, and we have some more Twitters to debunk. Anyways, this first topic is a doozy, you guys. I'm not sure if I sent this link to Alex, and I'm excited to hear what he has to think about this. Starting in 2020, Disney is apparently making cast members choose between their main entrance pass or a Disney Plus subscription with ESPN Plus and Hulu included. Now, this is kind of been brewing all over Diz Twitter the past couple days. People exploding on Twitter about, I guess, just being very angry at Disney for making their cast members choose between how much it costs, like $69, $70 a year for a Disney Plus subscription. But compare that to a main entrance pass where you get to bring in your family and your friends. I'm not sure if it's whenever you want. I'm pretty sure it's whenever you want when they're not blacked out, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so Alex, what are your thoughts on this doozy of a topic? Disney making their cast members in 2020 choose between their main entrance pass or a Disney Plus subscription.
So first, just a little bit of context for you guys. What Disney's making the cast members choose between the main entrance pass is what gets a cast member's family and friends into the park.
Yeah.
But even if the cast member chooses the Disney Plus package, they can still get themselves into Disneyland.
Yeah.
That's still allowed.
That's one thing to clarify. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is that I think this is actually kind of a good thing. Yeah, because let's just say Disney never even presented this to anybody, right? All cast members would just normally assume that they would have to purchase Disney Plus if they wanted to use it. No one would be the wiser. They wouldn't be like, oh, well, I should get free Disney Plus because I'm a cast member. No one would think that way, because it's not like you get a free annual pass when you're a cast member. I mean, you in a way you do. Never mind. Bad example. The point is that Disney Plus is a service, so cast members wouldn't have been bothered, I don't think. But the reason why Disney is offering this is because giving it to a few cast members for free is kind of easy. It doesn't cost them much, because there's going to be millions of other people who are going to sign up for this service, and the service doesn't cost that much. Like, I mean, aside from a few new movies and TV shows they're creating, a lot of their backlog of content is going to be stuff they created years ago. So it's just a win-win for everybody. And the other thing too is that there's a lot of cast members who work for Disney who don't I'm trying to put this tactfully, who don't have a need to use their main entrance pass. There's pretty much, I mean, when I worked as a cast member, I thought, oh boy, I'm gonna be getting all my friends into Disneyland all the time. But all my friends were super busy all the time, and my family was just really busy. It turned out that no one ever really asked me to use my main entrance pass to get them in. I mean, it was a really rare occasion when they did. So I would go into the park using my own pass, and my friends were all cast members, so they used their own pass. So it was like we almost never needed it. And so if I were still working for Disney, which thankfully I'm not, but if I were still working for Disney, I probably would end up choosing the Disney Plus package. That's just how things would roll for me. So I think this is a plus, because the cast members who don't need to use their main entrance pass can get something useful out of this transition, and it helps Disney. And for those cast members who want to use both Disney Plus and their main entrance pass, just have to buy a subscription, I guess. But yeah. Yeah, that's what I think.
Okay, very interesting. I was not expecting Alex to be so welcoming to this idea. I mean, granted, it's not a terrible idea. I do agree with Alex. Not a lot of cast members do use their main entrance pass. Like Alex said, most people just use their own normal pass, I guess, just to get in themselves.
And to be honest, the main entrance pass is becoming more anyway, because they've put so many restrictions on how many times you can use it, when out of the year you can use it. I mean, technically you can only sign in your family and friends 16 times out of the year, but most of the times of the year that you're able to do it, it's like there's not enough available time out of the year. They block out the pass so much. So it's just kind of like, in my opinion, the main entrance pass is becoming useless anyway. Might as well go for Disney Plus.
Okay, very interesting. Well, I believe the subscription that they're talking about, the Disney Plus subscription with Hulu and ESPN Plus included, I can't quite remember how much it costs. I know normal Disney Plus, I think, is like $6.99 or $5.99. I think this bundle is $12.99 a month. Excuse me, I could be wrong. Someone can correct me in the chat, in the comments. Again, I do see how this could be good for Disney. $12.99 a month, I'm sure isn't that expensive for them to lose compared to the hundreds of dollars of people. I'm sorry, Alex. I just had your picture on the screen, and the face you were making. You look like you were breathing underwater. I'm sorry.
I was.
Oh,
I'm
my
actually
gosh.
in an aquarium right now.
Guys, this is a groundbreaking moment for Matterhorn Mondays. Alex finally admits he's living in an aquarium. Oh my gosh. Well, anyways, what was I saying? Oh, I'm assuming the $12.99 a month, or however much it is, isn't as much of a loss compared to the hundreds of dollars it costs for when cast members bring in their friends and their families several times a year. So I can see how it's a plus from Disney's side, but again, I don't know. It's neat, I guess. I guess most people won't necessarily need Disney Plus, but yeah, so it's a very interesting topic. I'd like to hear what you guys have to say in the chat, in the comments below, because like I said, there was a bit of heat, a bit of tea, as the youngins say, brewing on Twitter the past couple days because of this. But anyways, Alex, do you have any final thoughts on this topic before we move on?
No.
Okay, Perfect. Let's go ahead and move on to our second topic. And before we move on, I should say links to all the articles we're referring to will be in the description below. That previous article was from wdwinfo.com. This one comes to us from cnbc.com. Disney says visits to their U.S. theme parks are being put off by guests until Rise of the Resistance opens in Galaxy's Edge. Reverend Puck says $13 a month for the package for Disney Plus. Thank you. I'll reread that headline because I got off track with the comment. Disney says visits to their U.S. theme parks are being put off by guests until Galaxy's Edge is completed with Rise of the Resistance opening. Now, this is something we've touched on a few months ago, I believe, once Galaxy's Edge was fully open in Disneyland, when the crowds didn't necessarily come out as Disney had expected to. One of our thoughts that we had, maybe people are just waiting for Rise of the Resistance to open, because if you look at it, okay, I want to shout out Chris with a K, LMG Vids. I don't think he's here in chat. He put out a video, I think it was this last week or the week before, about his thoughts on Galaxy's Edge, and he had a lot of great points. There's only one ride, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, and then the majority of everything else you have to do is behind a paywall. You have to pay $200 to construct your own lightsaber. You have to, there's a lot of shops and stuff. It's very expensive. Olga's Cantina, I guess. I don't think you have to necessarily buy anything. You can just go and sit down and soak in the atmosphere, but, still, to get the full experience of Olga's Cantina, you have to get some of the expensive drinks, which I'm going to be doing, you guys. When I go in December, I'm going to get the most expensive drink at Olga's Cantina, and I'm going to drink it all on the vlog for you guys. It's going to be very exciting, but anyways, according to Disney, higher ticket prices aren't deterring tourists from visiting their theme parks, but most are holding off until Rise of the Resistance is open. Not over, is open. And we do have a quote here from the CEO, Bob Iger. I'm sure if he were here, he'd say it himself, repeat the quote, but again, he has some shareholder meetings he had to be to, so we'll just go ahead and read off what he said. He said, quote, "We believe there was some delayed visitation to Galaxy's Edge, both at Disney and Disney World." I'm guessing that's a mistype, Disney and Disney World. Or maybe Bob Iger just said Disney and Disney World. Anyways, CEO Bob Iger said during an earnings call on Thursday, "So we sense that there are people that are just waiting for the whole thing to be opened, which is fine," he said. And I guess it is fine because their Q4 earnings report, I believe, was up 8% to $6.7 billion. The parks were. According to their recent Q4 earnings report, guests spent more money on food, drinks, and merchandise. Again, like I said, boosting that revenue to 8% from the previous quarter 3, to $6.7 billion. Now, that is something I did not expect to see. I think the last Q3 earnings report, it was down. I can't remember the exact percentage. I don't think it was down by much. But even just back then down, I think it was maybe like 3%. Up to the next however many months later, it is up 8%. That's kind of crazy for me to think. Alex, what are your overall thoughts on, overall thoughts on guests not visiting Galaxy's Edge until the full land is open, until Rise of the Resistance is open?
I had a feeling that would happen. I wasn't positive because I also kind of thought like, well, everyone's a huge Star Wars fan, so they might want to come immediately and see it, But in the back of my mind, I was kind of like, well, if I were them paying full price, for even just a single visit, I'd probably want to wait till the whole land was ready. And especially since the Rise of the Resistance is supposed to be like 10 times more awesome than Smuggler's Run. So yeah, I think it makes sense. And I mean, in a way, even Matt kind of waited too, because Matt hasn't been to Galaxy's Edge yet, and I think
spooky.
Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a good lesson for Disney. It's kind of like, when you're gonna open a new land, you should probably open it all at once. But if you're gonna refurbish an old land, you should do it phase by phase. So I can't help but wonder, what will this be like for Marvel Land?
Yeah.
will it be just like this where people don't go because they're waiting for the bigger, more exciting roller coaster attraction to open? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was mentioning something to Matt, which I don't think he even read because he didn't even read the article I sent him. So, what I was saying in this like huge paragraph I wrote basically was that I think that there's a reason why we're getting this Snow White's Scary Adventure refurbishment this coming year. Is I think it's because they were going to wait to redo Fantasyland all at once, but with not enough guests attending the park and stuff like that, I think that they saw a minor investment of $445,000 towards the refreshing of a classic attraction like Snow White. I think they thought it would generate a lot of interest, at least amongst Disney fans, because they're going to want to see what it looks like. I mean, there was a massive success following the redo of Alice and Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they're hoping if the Rise of Resistance opens in January and then they start redoing Snow White and have that open by the end of the year, that they're going to start seeing a exponential return in profit. Maybe not massive, but exponential according to how much they invested in Snow White. So I think it's a good idea, and I think that's what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, very interesting point, Mr. Alex, the historian. Again, people have pointed out, and like I said, Galaxy's Edge right now, it's just one ride and a bunch of shops. There's really not much. I mean, sure, there's the atmospheric stuff. You can do the Play Disney Parks app. Is that what it's called? Something like that. You can use that app. I guess you can run around the land and do the little missions that they provide. But that's not, I mean, granted, I haven't been to the land yet. I'm sure it's going to be, when I experience it, I'm sure I'll like it. But I can see where people are coming from when they say, someone said in chat that it's a bit bland. I can see where people come from when they say that only one ride, the ride isn't that repeatable. I don't think if you've done the ride once, you've basically done the whole thing. Whereas Star Tours, you have multiple destinations that you visit. And I'm sure Disney was planning at one point to include different missions for the Smuggler's Run attraction. And I'm sure those got cut, for budgetary reasons. We could still see those in the future. But again, it is just very bland, like James said in chat. Granted, I'm still looking at this from the outside. I haven't experienced the land just yet.
Mr. Matt.
Yes.
I got some interesting information right now.
Oh my gosh. Breaking news, you guys. This is breaking news from the Matterhorn Mondays podcast.
I'm not going to say who it's from, but this is an excerpt from a Cassenber advisory sent by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And this has to do with the Tomorrowland entrance.
Mm.
It says that from November 12th to November 22nd, the railings around the new planters at the entrance of Tomorrowland will be removed. So for cast members to be advised for guest safety, as well as construction will resume in spring of 2020. More details will be shared soon for the new look of the Tomorrowland entrance.
Wow. Okay.
So it's an actual screenshot of the Cassenber hub. So that is really interesting.
Alex is backdoor Disney, said Sam. Alex, are you backdoor Disney? Alex, are you the real? Did you steal Buzzy, Alex?
I don't even know him.
Well, tell that to the jury, because we find you guilty of being backdoor Disney. Just kidding. Well, I guess I said last week that we should dedicate an entire topic to just discussing the Tomorrowland entrance refurb and what that may mean for the future of Tomorrowland. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in more depth maybe next week. I want Jeremy to come back because we do have a voicemail from Redmond from last week that we still have to touch on with Jeremy. So we'll keep you guys updated on that. Thank you, Mr. Alex, for that breaking Disney news. We need like a breaking news sound.
Good work, pal.
Good work. Oh, I get it. That's a meme, you guys, from Soren. Do you get it? Oh my gosh. Wait a minute.
Great work, pal. I'm from Soren, and I voice Kronk.
Oh God.
Well, anyways, Alex, what are your thoughts on Disney's the Disney parks going up, boosting revenue to boosting revenue 8% to $6.7 billion this quarter? That was not something I expected to come out of this.
You know, I think that okay, so I was saying a couple episodes ago that because we were talking about the finances that Disney had experienced over the summer as opposed to this time over the fall, but over the summer, Disney had experienced an increase as well, even though their attendance was down. And we were saying that it's because Disney has learned to squeeze more money out of people's pockets. So this is actually the reason why none of this concerns Bob Iger is because he was making sure that the infrastructure was in place. So if attendance ever goes down, they can still find little ways to get more money out of the people that are staying in the parks, charging fees and premiums for little things here and there, raising the prices of food, making food easier and more accessible to people. People are more likely to spend money when they do it using their credit or debit card. And so look what Disney introduced. They introduced the mobile order system for the food and drink areas of the park, stuff like that. So they found ways of getting you to spend money. And so that's why Bob Iger is not really sweating, the attendance lulls this past, summer and fall. That's what I think.
Okay. Very interesting. Bob Iger then went on to say, quote, "The guest experience, guest satisfaction are very high, or should I say, are very, very high, and ride availability or attraction availability in the high 90s, he said. That basically means that That basically means that very, very complex technological attraction is running very well." I don't know. I think that quote is taken out of context from the article. I don't necessarily know what that end part refers to. But again, this is not something I expected. Just after this past quarter 3, where attendance was down in the parks once Galaxy's Edge opened, people were clamoring at Disney. Oh my gosh, you opened the Galaxy's Edge is a failure and it lost you guys so much money. But now look, they're back up. Revenue's back up to 8%. Back up, I should say, 8% to $6.7 billion. Imagine earning $6.7 billion, like just yourself, in 4 months. That's just really, that's a lot of money. But anyways, yeah, we will, like I've been saying, we will be covering Galaxy's Edge extensively until they end up closing it down and retheming it to an Aladdin Land. Do you guys remember that rumor that was happening? Aladdin Land, Galaxy's Edge. Anyways, before we move on, we do have a voicemail from Mr. T-Will that I'd like to get. Oh my God, T-Will, I accidentally called you, T-Will. I'm so sorry. I accidentally clicked the call button on T-Will's number. I'm so sorry, T-Will. Anyways, let's go ahead and give a listen to what Mr. T-Will has to say today.
It's interesting that Bob Iger points out that it's not ticket prices that are deterring people, but instead rise of resistance. I'm almost not willing to buy that. I think that might be a part, but there is this tipping point, and I think they are getting extremely close to it. They're having, especially for Walt Disney World, it's getting so expensive. Room rates are so expensive and all that stuff, and there can be a point, especially if you don't maintain top quality in the parks, that ultimately you will reach that breaking point. Like, this is too expensive. There's not a lot to do, or the upkeep is not much better than Universal, so why bother? They might have a higher, now that tipping point might be higher than I'm thinking, but I don't know. something is run in the state of Denmark. There's something brewing for the parks, and unless they really do something quickly within the next 5 years, I would say maybe they might get a reckoning. Maybe it's me getting a little pessimistic. I don't like being pessimistic, but I want Disney to do the right thing, and they could be heading for destruction.
Well, thank you, Mr. T-Will, for that voicemail. That is something that I've been thinking about ever since Galaxy's Edge opened. I've been sort of looking at this as a whole, just taking a step back. Galaxy's Edge opens. I don't like calling it a flop, but I'm going to call it a flop just for the sake of you guys. Galaxy's Edge opens, it quote-unquote flops. Not a lot of people come out to experience it. Q3 earnings report, parks are down 3%, however much it was. And then, even before Galaxy's Edge opened, Disney announced a brand new Marvel Land coming to California Adventure. And we're barely now getting the concept art for that Marvel Land. And it's not, at least in my opinion, it's not living up to the expectation of what they previously said for Marvel Land, because from my understanding, they did say that Marvel Land was supposed to be on the same sort of thematic theming as Galaxy's Edge. I remember it was either Bob Iger or someone saying something along the lines of that, and now it's, looking to be this cheap, not immersive land at all. Alex, what are your thoughts on Mr. T-Will's voicemail? It does sort of ring a few bells. It does sort of makes you think, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
I definitely agree, and I think I was really enamored with Galaxy's Edge when it opened, but then after visiting it several times, I started to realize the little hole in things.
Mm-hmm.
Just as someone was Chris was telling me that that the land is really stationary. There's not much movement, and so
yeah.
And I have to agree with everybody on that. I didn't realize that Galaxy's Edge was so lacking, and it's all because of these budget cuts, to save money here and there, but they should have just spent that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's disappointing.
Yeah, I remember Chris saying something along the lines of that in the video that I was mentioning earlier that he put out. No motion in the land whatsoever. It is interesting to me that they decided to theme a land after Star Wars. And I think Chris made this point as well in the video, and not have, sure, there are like ambient sounds around the land of speeders, ships launching to make it, look like they're launching overhead, but you don't see any of that. It's just kind of weird that they decided to theme a land after Star Wars when Star Wars is, ships in space fighting, shooting at each other, but you can't see any of the ships moving. Sure, the Millennium Falcon is there, but you can't go up inside of it. I'm sure you can in the ride, but the display one, you can only get up to a certain distance away from it. It doesn't move. Sure, it makes the ground rumble with its noises and engine noises and stuff like that, but there is really no kinetic motion in the land. Yeah, I do agree with what Alex said. Again, it is interesting that they decided to theme a land after Star Wars and not, I don't know how to phrase what I'm trying to say, but you guys get the point I'm trying to make. Anyways, again, like I said, we'll be covering Galaxy's Edge very extensively the next few episodes, however long we have to, you guys. Like I said, until Galaxy's Edge closes, until Disneyland closes, we'll be covering Galaxy's Edge. Anyways, do you have any?
A long time.
Oh, is it though? I heard last time Bob Iger was here, he said Disneyland was going to be closing forever next year. So be on the lookout for that, you guys. Anyways, Alex, do you have any final thoughts on the topic?
No.
Okay, perfect. We'll go ahead and move on to take a quick break from our sponsor, and then we'll come back, you guys, to debunk even more Disneyland myths that we have compiled for you. So we'll be right back after this. Wait a minute.
We'll be right back after this break. Sponsor break. Oh god.
If you guys are wondering where you can find even more family-friendly live streams, just like this one, head on over to theliveplace.com. The Live Place is your headquarters for great family-friendly live streams. They cover anything from Disney to other vacation spots, various variety shows, and have some amazing streamers like Resort TV 1 and myself. Also, be sure to check out puckermint.com, where you can find amazing pins and stickers. Puckermint is based out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, just a few hours from where I live. And since I'm a big believer in supporting local artists, we decided to partner up. Be sure to use the coupon code down below when you make your next order. Again, that's puckermint.com and puckermint on Instagram. All right, and we are back. Definitely not scheming anything for the end of the episode. You guys, could you guys hear me when I was saying that? I really hope. Okay, I don't think you guys could. I muted myself, so you shouldn't. Anyways.
I don't think they heard you.
Anyways, for our final topic of the day, we're going to be debunking some more Disneyland, drumroll guys, Disneyland myths for you guys. No one did the. I was hoping someone in chat would type out drumroll, but no one did, so that's kind of. I don't have a drumroll sound effect either, so that's awkward. But anyways.
I'll type out the drum roll.
Oh, drum roll. Oh, I'm waiting for it to show up on my chat client takes so long to update. Oh my gosh. Oh. Drum roll. Oh, someone said drum roll. Oh, Alex did the brrr. Very cool. All right. Anyways, it's time for debunking more Disneyland myths, everybody. We asked you guys on Twitter and Discord what your favorite Disneyland myths are, and we're going to debunk them. Are they true? Are they false? Are they somewhere in between? We will be the final deciding factors on that. For our first myth, we have water in the Disney parks, I should say. Not the drinking water, like the show water, like in Pirates of the Caribbean and Splash Mountain. Water using bromine. Is that how it's pronounced? Bromine? Bromine? It's bromine.
Bromine. Some people say it differently.
Okay. Water using bromine instead of chlorine. Alex. Well, I guess we should first discuss where this thought was popularized from. At least from where I heard it from. Mr. Rob Plays, guest on the show. I guess I should say Matterhorn Mondays legend Rob Plays. Everybody loves Rob Plays. He's not being sarcastic. I can't say that without sounding sarcastic. We love Rob Plays. He's a really great guy. Love having him on the show. He recently put out, or I guess not recently, a few years ago, he put out a video talking about this exact thing, water using bromine instead of chlorine. So that's, from my understanding, that's where a lot of people got this little tidbit from. Alex, is it true or is it false?
Okay, so you guys, I know everyone here has heard this basically, and it is directly from Rob Plays' mouth. He's the first person to ever really talk about this. And I went to him and asked him where he got this information, because I always like to double check my sources before I give out information. And since he's the only person who talked about it, I knew where to go. So I asked him, I said, where did you hear this? And he says that he knows somebody who works at the Walt Disney World, some kind of department, maintenance maybe. I forget which department he said now that I think about it. But he said that his connection kind of told him about what they use, and he casually mentioned bromine. And when Rob Plays asked about it, he explained further into depth. So according to that, it's true. But it's true to an extent, because I used to work all around Disneyland backstage, and it would not surprise me if Disney used bromine. But here's the thing. Disney, for sure, doesn't use bromine on outdoor filtered water attractions. And here's why. Bromine breaks down very quickly in the sunlight. Very quickly. And because bromine costs a lot of money, Disney would not use bromine on outdoor filtered water-based rides, such as the Finding Nemo submarine voyage at Disneyland. That has a massive area of water that is just sitting outside. For that, they would use chlorine. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you an example. So one of the reasons why I asked Rob Plays about this was because when I worked at Pacific Wharf at DCA, my break area was right behind the filtration system that filtered the water for the Grizzly River run. As you might know, there's a separation between the World of Color water area versus the water area right outside of Pacific Wharf. And that's because the water area outside of Pacific Wharf is the holding tank for all the water for Grizzly River Run. So there's actually a concrete separation. It's not the same water. And the water for Grizzly River Run is filtered. Now, like I said, my break area was right outside that area. And all the time I'd look up at these huge chemical tanks. They're like giant plastic looking tanks, but they had labeled on them chlorine. I remember that very specifically. And one time I even walked back there because I was like, what is back here? I want to look at all this machinery. And I did. And it all said chlorine. It said chlorine mixer, chlorine filtration, chlorine, blah, 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 chlorine storage tank. So I told him, like, hey, besides that, when I looked at Small World, when I looked at the filtration system for the subs, I'm like, it all said chlorine. I said, so that's why I wanted to know. And so basically he said, well, that kind of makes sense and we both talked about it, because bromine breaks down in the sunlight. They would rather use chlorine for rides that were mostly outdoors or had a large portion of their water outdoors. But like I said, this is also probably true for rides like Pirates of the Caribbean, where they would use bromine since it's entirely indoors and has a less offensive smell and gas given off by the bromine versus the chlorine. So it's true and it's also false, interestingly enough. So yeah, I wanted to debunk this because everyone always tells me every single ride is bromine. And I'm like, not everyone. I mean, I personally haven't seen any bromine tanks at Disneyland at all. But it's possible that for mostly indoor water-based filtered rides, they would use bromine, and mostly outdoor would use chlorine.
Very cool. Guys, we just put Rob Plays out of business. But
No.
Just kidding. We love you, Rob, if you're watching. We're just kidding. We love you a lot. You're our favorite guest, besides Jeremy. But my camera turned off. Give me 1 second. Oh my gosh. Anyways, thank you to Mr. Alex the Historian for providing more context to that myth, that rumor, or I guess not really a myth, a state of fact. Disneyland does use chlorine, but they also use bromine. Now, someone said in chat, question, if it was like Splash Mountain, where a part is outside, would it still be bromine? I'm assuming it'd still be chlorine, because a large portion is outside as well.
That's hard to say, but I would assume that it would be bromine because most of the ride takes place indoors. There's only a small section of quickly running water. And that water, I mean, if you think about it, every time the log is out in the sunlight, it's only for a couple seconds, right? Because it turns around and goes back under the shade. So that's the same amount of time that any of the water would spend in the sunlight, which I don't think is enough to significantly break it down. So I think Splash Mountain itself would be bromine, but again, rides like what do you call it? The Submarine Voyage, that would probably be chlorine. Well, I saw it was chlorine because it's like half of it at least is outside in this huge area. So
okay. Very cool. Well, I think, guys, the only way for us to test this and be 100% sure, someone's got to go to Splash Mountain, get a cup of the water, take a drink, and then in the autopsy report, we'll see if it's bromine or chlorine.
Matt, why don't they just carry the samples back and we'll put it in run tests on it? I mean, they don't have to drink it.
I mean, if they're thirsty, they can drink it. But you can bring the sample back. We can test it. But if you're thirsty, drink the water. On the autopsy report, we'll find out if it's bromine or chlorine. So I'm just kidding, you guys. I'm just kidding, you guys. Please don't do that.
Yeah, please don't drink the water. It is so dangerous for you.
I feel like when I say things like that, it's so obvious to me that I'm joking. But a lot of people that watch don't have the same sense of humor as me. So I should clarify. Do not drink the water at Disneyland unless it's from the taps or from the Dasani water bottles. Not sponsored. # not sponsored Dasani water bottles. But anyways, for our second myth, we have the Sleeping Beauty Castle clock and whether or not the time shown on it is significant. Now, this is another one of those classic Disneyland rumors that we see floating around. I don't have an image. I'm going to bring up an image, though, of the Sleeping Beauty Castle clock Disneyland. Just so you guys know what clock I'm talking about, because it was not apparent to me at first when I heard the rumor. Let's see. Oh my gosh. View image. Here we go. This is that clock that we're talking about. I'm sure I can find a better image, but this is the clock. So Alex, is the time, because the clock, I guess we should mention, doesn't work. It's frozen on this one time. What time is it? It is it's 4 o'clock. Is that what it says? I think. I can't tell which hand is longer. It's 4 o'clock? Okay. I can tell if the longer hand. Anyways, Alex.
So that time changes. Okay, so it's not always set to 4. Now, let me tell you, it's not a real clock. It is just a chandelier piece. It is decorative. There's no inner workings that turn the hands on the clock. It's just a bunch of wire, and it's entirely not a real clock. So, that being said, last time I saw the clock, it was set to 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
So maintenance does switch the clock around. It's not always at the same time. I think maintenance, whenever they dust it or repaint it or whatever, they just kind of play a little game of like, let's change the time on the clock. And so that being said, it does not have any significant time on it. It has no significance, no importance whatsoever. People like to speculate, oh, it's the time that Walt Disney died, which isn't true. He died early in the morning, but not like 4 in the morning. He died at like, like 8 or 9 in the morning. That kind of thing. People like to say it's like the different times of no, people are reading too much into it. It's got no significant time to it. And as a matter of fact, even Disney themselves said so. As I'm speaking, I'm actually looking for the article. It was on the Disney Parks blog.
Yeah, I remember.
And I can't find it. I can't find it. But gosh, it's so weird. I can't find. But anyway, what they said in the blog was that the chandelier was installed in 1996. Okay, and it represents no significant time. The hands are capable of moving, so they can move the hands physically, and that it's just a decorative piece. And so basically that's what they have on it. There's no significance to it whatsoever. And yeah, I can't find that thing.
That gosh darn article, you guys. That GD article.
Gosh darn article. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Mystery of the Chandelier Clock. Do you want me to send you the link, Matt?
Yeah. That would be sublime. Sublime.
Paste. There you go.
Cool beans. I will bring this up on the stream.
Do you want me to read it out loud? It's only a paragraph.
Okay, yeah. I would mispronounce everything.
Yeah, you would. It says, have you ever walked through Sleeping Beauty Castle at Disneyland Park and looked up to see the stunning chandelier clock? If not, you're missing a real treat. Installed in 1996, the chandelier clock has never actually worked. Despite the theories and rumors, the numerous times that have been set on the clock have no significance. Over the years, I have photographed the clock many times during the day. This time I wanted to see how the clock would photograph at night. I think the beauty of the clock is more evident at night than during the day. And he shows pictures of the clock. But yeah,
it's just that. Okay, that was short.
That's it. So yeah, so I have to agree. Like I said, last time I saw the clock, it said 3 p.m., but sometimes it says 4, sometimes it says 1. It has no significance. It doesn't matter.
They're playing pranks on all the Disney vloggers, you guys. SMH.
You know why? Because we put too much gravity on everything we see at Disneyland.
Yeah.
I just, yeah.
Agreed. And let's see, we do have one final myth. We might take one more myth submission in the chat after this, if you guys can come up with one that we haven't already talked about. This one comes from Alex. I did not know about this one. The Indian shaman on the rivers of America used to be Abraham Lincoln. Is that? I mean, of course, it's a myth. I was going to ask if it's correct, but
that's the correct myth.
Okay.
So this gets passed around a lot, especially by really popular YouTubers who I feel like I'm like, oh boy, I can tell these people didn't double check. They just heard it and decided to repeat it because it made plausible sense, I guess. I mean, yeah, I mean it makes plausible sense, but the thing is not true at all. So, I remember that Indian shaman being around even when I was a kid. He was brought in, I think, in the 90s during a refurbishment of the Rivers of America. And back then, they've had the same Abraham Lincoln, for like 20, 30 years. And he operated even long past the installation of the Indian shaman. So that's the first thing. But he wasn't any Abraham Lincoln that was at Disneyland, that's for certain. But the other thing that's for certain is, even if you don't believe that, look at the design of the shaman and how he moved. So if you ride the Disneyland Railroad and you can see the shaman at eye level, and as you pass behind him, if you look really carefully, or even on the Mark Twain, if you look really carefully, you can see that there is a metal pole sticking out of his back into the rockwork behind him. That metal pole is used to support the weight of his body, so that way it can make him do things like, bend down or kneel, or, sometimes he kind of crouches down as he's saying something and then stands right back up again. And that metal pole supports his weight, and behind him, behind the little tarp thing, or the bear skin behind him, is a hydraulic mechanism that goes up and down and up and down. And so anyway, Lincoln never needed that. I don't even think I need to tell you that. I think everybody already knows that. Lincoln never needed that, because the whole thing about Lincoln was that he could sit and then stand upright from his chair with visibly no revealing mechanical functions whatsoever. And so if you really think about it, if Abraham Lincoln had a pole sticking out his back to support his body weight, that pole would have had to extend 15 feet behind him into the back wall. And everybody knows there's like this huge open area behind him. Anyone sitting far to stage left or far to stage right would be able to see that Lincoln has a big pole in his back. So no, it's not how Lincoln was designed. The Indian shaman, the reason why they designed him this way is because he's outdoors, right? He's in the elements. The rain is going to hit him, even though there's a cover over him. Rain can come sideways in high winds. So rain can hit him, the weather, everything, right? So putting these tiny little hydraulic actuators in his body is not a good thing for when a machine is out there day and night in the weather. They need to use large hydraulic actuators, because if they ever get kind of rusty or whatever, at least their sheer power and size will allow them to stay moving a little bit longer until maintenance can schedule a repair and cleaning and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is there's no small machine parts in his knees that lift him up and down the way Lincoln does. Instead, they use this powerful hydraulic actuator hidden in the rockwork behind him to lift him up and down and stuff like that. And even his arms are covered in kind of like these baggy skins, so that way they can fit these huge buff like hydraulic rams in them So he's basically not built fragile the way Lincoln is. He's built very tough so he can withstand the weather. So it's just a completely different design. It makes no sense that any part of him would be part of Lincoln. And Matt is just being ridiculous right now. So
guys, this is false. Indian Shaman says bruh moment. This is not Abraham Lincoln, debunked by Alex the historian.
Yeah, it's not. It's just not.
All right, well, thank you to Mr. Alex the historian for that lovely explanation. I'd never heard about this one before, on the interwebs, that is.
I could mention some YouTubers who recently used this, but I think that would just be pointing fingers.
Oh, Disney beef. Disney YouTube beef. Anyways, I think that will actually go just wrap up. I'm trying to scroll through Twitter to find any other myths that we missed. Someone said earlier today, let's see. Someone said... A weird one I heard recently, cast members point with 2 fingers as to not disrespect any foreign visitors and their customs, from at BINXXX tweets. Binks tweets. I do not have...
Oh, you want me to talk? Okay. So actually that's false. They do it so that way Mickey doesn't cut their fingers off. No, I'm just kidding. No. Okay, no, that's actually true. So, I used to be a lot of things. Just be prepared for this. Okay? I've been a lot of things at Disney. I used to teach at the Disney University. I did it for maybe less than a year, but I mean, most people do it for only 1 quarter. So I did it for 3 times longer. But anyway, the reason why they teach you certain things, such as the 2-finger point, is because a lot of different cultures visit Disney parks and Disney places. And so some cultures find a single finger point as offensive because it, I mean, there's things in America that require 1 finger that can be offensive. So they have
it's
those
the
same
thumbs
things
up. That's what you're talking about, right?
That's in Japan. But yes. So cast members are told not to give the thumbs up. They're told not to point with 1 finger, things like that. And unfortunately, sometimes that itself isn't always fully explained to the cast members. They're just told, don't do it. Always point with 2 fingers or a full hand, and they don't always say why. But I was always the one to make sure why. And as a matter of fact, anyone who's been in the military and was about to go overseas would usually get handed an etiquette card telling them, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do in this country in order to not be offensive. So that's the same thing at Disneyland. And as a matter of fact, there used to be an old saying, they don't use it anymore at Disney, but there used to be an old saying, you say two fingers to direct and a full hand to show. So, they don't say that anymore. They used to say a lot of things they don't use anymore. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, Mr. Alex, the historian, for, again, that lovely explanation. I'm just basically doing nothing for this segment, you guys. Alex is my think information man. He's my encyclopedia. I was going to say dictionary, but I guess encyclopedia would be a better word. But anyways, I feel like, on that note, it's time to go ahead and wrap up this week's episode of Matterhorn Mondays. We appreciate every single one of you for coming out to today's episode. And as you know, links to all the articles we're referring to will be in the description below, as well as links to Alex's channel, his Twitter, as well as links to the alexthehistorian.com website. To get more information on the meetup happening on December 6th, Friday, December 6th, that is at 1 p.m. in the lobby of the Grand Californian Hotel. If you'd like more information on that, like I said, alexthehistorian.com. And on that note, everybody...
Oh my gosh, it's time, you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Disneyland proudly presents our spectacular festival pageant of nighttime magic and imagination, and thousands of sparkling lights, and I messed it up, and electro-syntho-magnetic musical sounds. The Main Street Electrical Parade!
Oh, God.
Thank you all for coming to today's episode. And as always, have a great big bra moment tomorrow. Have a great big...
Have a great big beautiful tomorrow, everybody. Bye.